Okay, this is a video showing a restoration of a windowsill for this all wood window. This is a very minor restoration because it's just going to consist of sanding and painting. This window was apparently purchased unpainted, and the original owner stained it on the inside and then painted it white on the outside. And you can kind of see that because if you look at where the jam liner goes in here, you see that it's not painted under the jam liner, and in that spot you can kind of see where there might have been some primer, gray primer, that has failed and come off. And all of the other painting which has been done on the windowsill, there doesn't seem to have been any underneath that. The other thing you can notice from this jam liner, let me see if I can get it in there roughly. You can see that it has stain on the inside of it. So when they stained it, they got some on the jam liner vinyl, and it's never really come off. And on the other hand, on the outside, you can see some paint that also got on the jam liner. And that paint is this brown color, and that seems to be the color that was used in a primer coat on the outside of the sill. So, and you can see where I've been sanding it, and the primer coat shows through after I sand off the white. And this internal piece of framing also shows that primer color. That was probably originally just bare wood, and the original owner of these windows primed it with that and then painted it with white, apparently. Now, but what they didn't do was get it underneath with jam liners, and so what has happened is, on a lot of windows, rot takes place under this jam liner in this corner right out here. Underneath the space between here and here is the primary spot, and that's probably because this wood is untreated and also a very soft wood, probably. The outside casings, I've noticed on some casings that are removed, also have not been painted on their end grain. But that wood seems to be more rot resistant. I think it's Douglas fir. And this one here rots to a much greater extent. On this window, probably due to the exposure, this particular window hasn't rotted, even though this was built in 1984, so it's over 35 years old. Now, I had thought that possibly the reason why some of these windows were failing on me was because of the storm window track. I had these storm windows installed, and the person who had installed them, the way the storm window works is the lower part is adjustable, and it's supposed to be set up so water will drain through. But the installer had screwed it shut. There's an example where there was a screw was screwed into the windowsill, and it was screwed down, holding the adjustable portion tight against the windowsill. That prevented water from draining. That's one reason why the paint has failing in this area, but it's not rotted in this area. It seems as though the area that rots first is at the corners, and it may or may not be related to the storm windows. But in any case, this one does not look so bad. So what I've done is I intend to paint, and I use a hacksaw blade just to make sure that the space under here is clear. The wood seems sound, so I'm not going to dig it out. And I also did the same underneath to just get clearance underneath the casings, because I want to paint the primer under there, and I want to get whatever was under there out. I'm not sure. Some old paint possibly is under there. And when I prime it, I just want the paint to be able to flow under there to as large a degree as possible. So I've used this. I could undercut these casings to an even larger degree, but I think that is going to be fine for this, especially since it's already almost 35 years old or more, and this casing actually seems solid, so currently there's not a problem, and I'm hoping a fresh coat of paint and primer in this gap and on the sill will help preserve this windowsill so I don't ever have to replace it or do a more major restoration on it. And that I'm just going to fill with some wood putty. The screw actually broke off when I was trying to get it out, but I just ground it down below the surface, and then I'm just going to fill it. So hopefully I'll just get it flush. And anyway, this is a really minor case compared to my other rotted windows, but that's what I'm going to be doing on this window.